Here we are. GM. That was intense. I like that countdown. That was good.
It's a lot of suspense.
We're here. It's us. Hey, everybody. GM. Welcome to the first episode of On-Chain Odyssey, a new series from OKX where Scott and I journey to understand the biggest trends in crypto. Today, we're starting our journey where all crypto journeys began, the wonderful world of Bitcoin. And we'll be uncovering some of the latest innovations, specifically talking about ordinals and runes.
Yeah, and it's been crazy seeing this innovation explode. I think it came out of nowhere for a lot of people. And so we need to dig in with an expert. So we brought on everybody's favorite wizard and meme lord, of course, Udi Wertheimer. He's going to break it down for all of us who aren't so technically savvy and maybe haven't dug in as deep as he has. But first, I guess we got to introduce ourselves, right? So I'm Scott Melker, the Wolf of All Streets. I'm the host of the Wolf of All Streets podcast. I've got a YouTube channel as well, newsletter, but I've basically been in the crypto space since 2016 as a trader, investor originally, and then I fell deep down the rabbit hole and got orange pilled, or as you guys say at OKX, we got papaya pilled.
Papaya pilled, baby.
Yeah, papaya pilled, right? And and I think actually last time I saw you in person was probably in Singapore, right at the Formula One event, and I was wearing that OKX t-shirt.
Yeah, man. It's been almost a year. It's crazy, and we're really looking forward to this year's Token 2049 in Singapore, as well as all the pageantry that comes around the Singapore F1. It's just a fantastic time, for sure.
For sure. So now you gotta do your intro.
Yeah, I'll do my intro. Hey, folks, I'm Matthew. I lead our global product marketing team here at OKX. I'm an active trader, crypto diehard. I've been in this space for many, many years, and I am your co-host for this show. So we're thrilled to have you with us today. If you are on X or YouTube, feel free to leave a comment. We'll be checking out the comments and answering some of your questions as well.
Just to be clear, I'm the co-host. He's the real host.
Yeah, it's a co. I put co in front of it because Scott, man, I had to get Scott.
I like to be co, but listen, people don't need to hear us talking about our shirts and last time we saw each other. So maybe we should dive right into this because it's really a deep topic, and I want to maximize Udi's time.
Yeah, let's get into it. Before we jump in, just a quick disclaimer: the information presented today is not financial advice or any other form of solicitation to buy, sell, or hold digital assets, which are volatile. So do your own research, but come along with us for this journey. We're ready to jump in. So actually, let's kick off just talking about Bitcoin. And oh wait, we got Udi on. Udi!
Yo, what's up?
See, he wore the glasses to match our shirt.
It's a pleasure.
He wore the glasses to match our shirt.
Is that time already? I think we gotta switch up.
Let's go.
Switch up. Feeling quite magical.
Scott,
Dude, I don't have a wizard
hat. Are you gonna
hat.
stay naked, Scott?
I have a Shiba Inu oven mitt. Is that on brand? Can I wear it on my head? I don't know. So we're gonna dig in here. I guess since we got Udi on, we should probably dig in and break down ordinals and runes. I mean, maybe we can go back and jump back into sort of Bitcoin in general. But
yeah, sure.
Can you break down, I guess, what ordinals and runes are for our viewers, Udi? Because we take for granted, I think, that everybody is down this rabbit hole, but I still think there's probably a hell of a lot of people in this space that have no idea what we're talking about.
Yeah, totally. Well, ordinals are this kind of crazy phenomenon started by Casey Rodarmore, who built the protocol a year and a half ago. Really what it is a way to store JPEGs and kind of NFT-like things on Bitcoin. But the thing that really sets those up, they're similar to NFTs, but what really sets them apart from NFTs is that they are stored forever on the chain, unlike a lot of the NFTs have, they either have the image on IPFS or on some web server, and it's just not as consistent. It's not really guaranteed to stay there forever. So with Bitcoin, you get Bitcoin's kind of, guaranteed safety that your image is going to be there forever. That's one cool thing about it. And the other is it really inherits a lot of Bitcoin's features. So it kind of behaves like Bitcoin. With NFTs on Ethereum and Solana too, and a lot of other platforms, the issuer kind of gets to decide a lot of things. For example, they can say, that we've seen this a lot in Ethereum recently, that you're not allowed to trade on some marketplaces, for example, or they can decide that they're going to change the artwork, or they're going to make new, they're going to increase the supply. We've seen a bunch of that happening with Ethereum, and that can be fine. That might be, a good fit for a project. Maybe like it's a special project that wants to expand over time. There's nothing wrong with it per se. But if you use ordinals on Bitcoin, you kind of get Bitcoin's like cool properties, like the supply is fixed. It's not gonna get bigger. The ordinal is yours. It is truly yours in the sense that there's nothing the issuer, the artist, the creator can do in order to change the rules of the ordinals. So I think they're really cool because they inherit a lot of Bitcoin's features. We've seen a lot of people kind of learn about Bitcoin for the first time through ordinals in the last year. Because ordinals got really popular. I think a lot of people who used to trade, let's say they joined crypto in the last like 2-3 years, and they traded a lot on Ethereum and Solana and didn't really ever use Bitcoin before. Thanks to ordinals, they started getting exposure to BTC itself and also started learning how Bitcoin works. And today it's actually like, a lot of kind of the most active like crypto people you'll talk to will tell you that they've been active on the Bitcoin chain, which is really cool because it really hasn't been the case in the 5-6 years before that.
Yeah, and like I think one thing is like I'm a big ordinals maxi. I got red pilled into ordinals early, and on the OKX side we supported ordinals and BRC20 and inscriptions quite early in 2023, starting in January and then launching in May. But the question I get from a lot of people is like, how do ordinals work? Like, does it change Bitcoin? Like, was there anything done that made ordinals possible? Like, what was the change that allowed this? Because we've had Bitcoin for many years, right? 15 years going on. Like, why all of a sudden, how did ordinals exist when they didn't before?
It's interesting. I think mostly it's like a change in the way that people perceive Bitcoin and think about it. There has been an upgrade to Bitcoin in 2021 called Taproot. That it's a very technical upgrade. We don't have to get into what it does, but it did kind of in a way made the ordinals protocol easier to make. But honestly, ordinals could have existed without Taproot too. I think more than anything else, it's like this kind of it was this moment that I think Casey and a lot of other people were kind of like, you know what, why don't we fuck around with Bitcoin and see what happens? And that's just something that was kind of almost taboo before. And I think that is one of the really cool things about ordinals, that they really shifted the culture in Bitcoin in a very significant way. And now it's like much more acceptable for people to talk and build, on top of Bitcoin and not just on top of other chains.
I mean, there was kind of this joke that you guys were breaking Bitcoin at the beginning, right? Because we saw the mempool completely full, transaction prices skyrocketed. Of course, a lot of that normalized, but I guess now as this has evolved and become more of the process with Bitcoin, and we know that it's going to have a future regardless of what anyone wants or thinks, how will this impact the transaction processing in the future? Will this, have to move to layer 2s that are faster? I mean, how will this really work and not break Bitcoin?
Yeah, it's interesting. There were a few of these like really big spikes in mining fees and transaction fees over the last, like, let's say 18 months. But even in periods like now where there isn't a spike like that, you will still see on-chain usually at least like 25-30% of transactions are related to ordinals, BRC20s, and runes. So there's even when like the kind of urgency is lower and the transaction fees are lower, even then a very significant amount, if sometimes it's over 50%, is used for those kind of things. So yeah, I think this use case is not going anywhere. Like this is it. People, I know some people were not happy about it, but I think by that point,
well, I mean, the miners
learn to accept it. Oh, of course, yeah, of course, miners love that. Yeah, and to your question about L2s, yeah, I think we must have, like, all of us in this group must have talked about this in other occasions about stuff like Lightning Network, right? Which is this interesting kind of L2 for Bitcoin, but I think it never found true product market fit because it's really only useful for payments, which and specifically small payments, which I think are just not something that a lot of people do with Bitcoin. People like to speculate, like that's not a secret. I think we all agree that is like probably the main use case for crypto overall. And now that Bitcoin has this kind of vehicle of speculation on top of BTC, the asset itself, I think we will see more L2s that, aim at the speculation use case instead of the payment use case. So yeah, I think that is already happening, and we'll see it like growing in the next couple of years.
Yeah, so I feel like high network activity is here to stay, right? I mean, with ordinals, of course, with the introduction of runes at the halving in April, we've seen more use cases, right?
Right. Yeah. So runes is a fungible token. If ordinals is a non-fungible protocol on Bitcoin, then runes is a fungible token, more like ERC20 on Ethereum and SPLs on Solana. And those launched in April, I think it was. Yeah, in April this year. And when they launched, there was this massive spike. There were a ton of people racing to mint them, and I think that was the record high fee rate for a short period
those
of time.
sats, like the whole sat attributes thing, and like the first sats of the halving and the runes attached to those, people paid
that was a thing too,
outrageous fees to mine those, correct? Millions.
Yeah, I think the fee was $550K or maybe for like around that for like the first couple of rune etches.
I think so. And the very first block was definitely very high in fees. I don't remember. I don't remember the exact number, but it was
right. No, makes a lot of sense, man. Yeah.
These are obviously go ahead.
No, Scott, go for it. I got you.
I was gonna say, I mean, these are obviously a number of ideas that arguably improve on Bitcoin, right? You can have that debate endlessly, but there are people who view it that way and are looking to do it. You're obviously one of them. You had Taproot Wizards. You guys must have lost my hat in the mail. Like mine must have just gotten lost. The one you guys obviously sent me.
You're wearing it. It's magically invisible right now.
I'm just saying, like, I feel like I should have one, and maybe that should be a thing next time. But like Taproot Wizards, Quantum Cats, Opie Cat, Cat VM, like you're going all in.
Right.
So how's this improving on Bitcoin? What are we looking at here?
Yeah, I think there's the first stage for us in the first year of ordinals. For us, it was all about changing and upgrading Bitcoin's culture. I think the culture, like the online culture around Bitcoin, was kind of stuck for a long time. There's these, there's this group of people that I call the laser eye maxis. Other people have other names for them. Really, they're good people. They're very bullish on Bitcoin. They think that Bitcoin is important for the world. I agree with that. But I think sometimes, for my taste, sometimes they take themselves too seriously. And I think what we thought, a lot of kind of early Bitcoiners like me, I think we felt like that it would be good to have a little bit of contra to that. Like those people should continue to do the serious stuff that they do, but also I think it was about time people start having fun with Bitcoin as well. And, there was this 2013 Reddit meme called the Bitcoin Wizard, which is this legendary little wizard that looks like it made exactly the Magic Internet Money Wizard. It looks like it was made in Microsoft Paint, and it wasn't, by the way, but it looks like completely silly. And at the time, it was really used as a way to make, like, if you think back to 2013, obviously most people in the world didn't know that Bitcoin exists, and the few who did, most of them thought that it was used by criminals, drug dealers, tax evasion. I don't know. It had a very, very bad connotation for the few people who knew about it, and I think kind of the internet Bitcoin community of the time kind of wanted to rebrand and make it like a little lighter, a little more fun. And that's what they used the Bitcoin Wizard meme for. And we thought, hey, why don't we bring it back and use that to make Bitcoin like a little lighter, a little more fun, or at least have give people the option to have fun if they want to. And that's really what Taproot Wizards was all about. It's one of the earlier Bitcoin ordinals collections. And I would say it was very, very successful in that sense. I think that the culture did change a lot following that. But then, so I think that has been a very positive development for Bitcoin. But the other thing is, I think once that kind of cultural roadblock is removed and people can open their minds about what Bitcoin can be, then we can talk about actual technical changes to Bitcoin as well that make it more powerful and more functional.
Yeah, man.
Things
About, I think, so to elaborate on that, right? Because that's where we're heading, right? We're talking about Bitcoin innovation. I mean, we talked 18 months ago, perhaps, definitely about 2 years ago, like none of the sort of innovation that we're really talking about, the communities that have been built around, didn't exist. These sort of newcomers to the space, we're seeing a lot of Solana folks, ETH folks coming in, being red pilled into the Bitcoin ecosystem, not for its sort of value, but because of what functions that they can do today and in the future, or potentially in the future. So I wanted to ask you a bit to elaborate more on like what that future looks like. I know you are championing a proposal for 𝕆𝕟𝕪𝕟, which isn't a new thing, but bringing it back and pushing it forward. So what would be the significance of, some change that allows for scalability and security or whatnot on Bitcoin?
Yeah. So 𝕆𝕟𝕪𝕟 is this name of what we call in Bitcoin an opcode, which really, it means like a scripting function. It's like a tool you can use in Bitcoin scripts. And the really interesting thing about 𝕆𝕟𝕪𝕟 is that it existed in Bitcoin already in the first release in 2009. Like Satoshi himself made it in 2009 and then disabled it alongside a bunch of other opcodes a year later. And it is this, on the surface level, it's this super simple and boring thing. It takes two script elements and puts them together. It's like completely uninteresting to anything who's not a complete nerd like me. But it turns out that you can actually use that in conjunction with a bunch of other features that Bitcoin already has in order to build like really cool constructs, smart contracts, bridges to other chains, AMMs like Uniswap and Jupiter, and like really, really cool things that you see on many other ecosystems you could do on Bitcoin as soon as you have 𝕆𝕟𝕪𝕟 enable, it's kind of mind-blowing because 𝕆𝕟𝕟𝕪𝕟 is this tiny, simple, basic thing. So really, it wasn't our idea. There's a lot of Bitcoin researchers and developers who over, the last 10 years have been writing a ton of papers and work about how, if 𝕆𝕟𝕟𝕪𝕟 was turned back on, how many cool things we could do with it. And we just thought more people should talk about it. Like more people should know about this and we should make it happen. So earlier this year, we kind of started this campaign with the Quantum Cats, which is our second ordinals collection. And the Quantum Cats is really a community that is all about bringing back this 𝕆𝕟𝕟𝕪𝕟 thing. Because once 𝕆𝕟𝕟𝕪𝕟 is live, it enables like the most craziest thing that people would ever want to do with Bitcoin. Literally, you could take your BTC and your ordinals, bridge them permissionlessly to Solana, to Ethereum, trade them there, bring them back. You could trade your BTC for stable coins and back on Bitcoin without ever like losing custody of it, without KYC, without exchanges in the middle. It's like a miraculous thing.
Yeah, some basic experience that many of us or crypto natives or everyday crypto users we expect on EVM. We can see that on Bitcoin. Yeah. That's pretty wild. I'm excited.
What 𝕆𝕟𝕟𝕪𝕟 is, and that's what CatVM is, which is our kind of framework for building applications on top of 𝕆𝕟𝕟𝕪𝕟. So they're all about bringing back those features to Bitcoin. I think there is really, it's really interesting. There is a lot of support for 𝕆𝕟𝕟𝕪𝕟 for many different kind of camps in Bitcoin. It's not just us, the ordinals degens. It's also a lot of Lightning people want it because it improves Lightning. Blockstream has posted a bunch of like articles about it because it improves their stuff. A lot of mining pools love it. So like it's kind of a thing that everyone wants. So I think it'll happen, fairly soon. And once that happens, I think you're going to see kind of the craziness that happened with ordinals and runes times 10 because it's going to enable so many other new protocols.
It's wild. It's totally wild. If you guys have questions for Udi, feel free to leave a comment either on YouTube or X Live. Well, this is some interesting stuff. Tweet us too on Chain Odyssey. This is our first episode. We'd love to see some love. We'll keep this going. But no, on the back of a big year for Bitcoin. I mean, we've had the ETF, which kicked off this year. We've seen the year to date, we're up 50% year to date on the price action on Bitcoin, peaked at 90%.
Did you guys
so we're
hear
seeing
about the Trump announcement just a few minutes ago?
Yeah, I actually recorded a video on it this morning for the street under embargo that they dropped like the second that it happened.
Oh, really? Yeah, I'm saying, so now we
It
got
was
Trump.
kind of vaguely out there this morning, and then but there was a news embargo on it. So yeah, it's pretty wild.
No, we're seeing.
I can't imagine what the hotel prices just did.
Oh no!
Luckily, I booked mine
I
before.
didn't book. I definitely have not booked my hotel yet. I am going to be sleeping in a trailer. That's okay.
I think it'll be all right.
I might be so
yeah,
mine, actually.
He's confirmed. I think they said from what I just read, the conjecture nobody knew, but I think it's gonna be like a 20-minute keynote, and I'm assuming there'll be a fundraiser. You know, presidential candidates don't show up to things unless they're guaranteed a certain amount of money at fundraisers. So, but I mean, it really speaks to, I think, the absolute explosion of this space in the last years, but like even in the past few months. You have to really almost like tap yourself when you wake up to make sure it's real, because if you look back a year, it was such a sort of contentious environment in the United States for crypto, and since then you had Larry Fink and BlackRock come in, and then we get these ETF approvals. An Ethereum ETF is imminent. You have obviously like the political wind shifting since Trump came out so positively. Although I remember when Robert Kennedy announced his campaign last year at the Bitcoin conference, there was some wizard flossing on stage right before he came out. I can't remember who that might have been.
I think it was right after even.
Yeah, but either way, it was like you guys and then him on stage. But and now you have arguably the leading candidate who's going to be speaking there as well, and it's even forcing, I think, the other side of the political aisle to really thaw, on the space. So it's just this huge net positive. I think we've got nothing but tailwinds for the space. I mean, the ETF is bananas. $15 billion in inflows already at a $50 billion market cap. That's what we were supposed to do in like 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, quite clearly, we're seeing it an inflection point, not only politically and from a cultural standpoint, for we'll call them people coming into this space, seeing Bitcoin, but then also Bitcoiners and folks in this space looking to drive innovation. I think this is probably the most exciting year. I mean, for Bitcoin. I mean, there's lots of exciting moments, but like this year has been like hit after hit.
I've never been more bullish. I've been in Bitcoin for a while. I've never
a lot longer than us. Yeah.
Like we had the halving as well, and now we have this presidential election, which seems platform wise, you have to talk crypto, right? Like you're not going to be a candidate.
You have to. And I think what's really interesting is like you said, we have the halving, which always coincides in the 4-year cycle with the election. And liquidity cycles, but now we have this sort of, we're on the Republican platform, like defending crypto, which is just insane when you think about it, that's where we're at, like I said, considering how bad things seemed a year ago. And it's a main issue in the election. I mean, it will be talked about at the national conventions. They're having this meeting with Ro Khanna, congressional, for the Democrats to try to come up with some sort of platform in reaction with the Biden White House. And then people are freaking out about the price, which to me blows my mind. Like $57,000.
So that's what I wanted to ask you about.
At this point in the cycle, it's like a dream.
So I was going to say, so is this priced in, right? Like, given all the innovation, Udi's here talking about all this stuff, we're thinking OpCat could.
I don't think so, man. This is the halving. This is what happens in a halving cycle every single time. And you have this like summer doldrums and this misery and chop, and people capitulate because they're impatient and spastic and not willing to wait a little while. And I don't know if it will happen, but you have seen every single time in this cycle that people finally capitulate in August and September and October. You see this parabolic move into the next year. History may not repeat itself, but we have that cycle to look forward to with all of these tailwinds that we're discussing with the ETF and politics and regulation. It's wild.
No, I agree, Udi. We chatted about this as well. Like, feels like we're so bullish, but we're still not bullish enough, which is kind of where we're at. But no, Scott, I want to ask you, because considering we're talking about ordinals, runes, these are new assets, new asset class under Bitcoin, right? Like as a trader and folks who are trying to understand how to not only get deeper into Bitcoin ecosystem, like what would strategies you think as a trader, like you would consider going into something like trading runes or a new protocol on Bitcoin?
Yeah, I mean, I think Udi would have a lot of insight on this. Obviously, I think it's still nascent, right? So it's very hard to say the future of runes and ordinals and everything being developed on Bitcoin is priced in, right? So it seems like a really good time to get your feet wet, to start to do your research, to understand what's coming, maybe, buy something here and there, put it in a wallet, figure that all out, because we know that this is going to explode. Just like the summer doldrums we're talking about with the cycle, you have this lull kind of in interest just because we're at that point. And this stuff is going to continue to be absolutely huge. And we're going to see these major peaks moving forward. So just like with the market as a whole, I think right now is a really good time to like do your diligence and figure it out before that next move to the upside. You have this wonderful opportunity where things are mispriced and kind of low and people are bored. And that's when you should be taking advantage, right? I mean, you buy the blood in the streets, even if it's your own, right? It's a famous quote. So like when things are low and slow, that's when you should be interested.
Yeah, Udi, what's your advice for folks exploring this space? Because I tend to agree with Scott. It's like just explore, be curious, right? And learn these things.
Look, I am. It's funny. I know that a lot of times that's not what DJs want to hear, but like I'm a big believer in building. I think that because there's going to be so much that's going to happen in Bitcoin, because the capabilities are going to kind of explode. There's going to be like this new kind of complete new sector that opens up. Then I think one of the best things you can do at this time, if you're into that kind of thing, is just find something to build and really like double down. Because I think for Bitcoin, this is going to be the time. Like if you think about Bitcoin in the last, almost, 6, 7, 8 years, it really lagged in functionality and in kind of features behind, Ethereum, Solana, and so on. That's going to change. So if you think about that, everything that's been built on other chains is going to be built with Bitcoin too. If you're a builder, this is your opportunity to like fill that gap and participate in this kind of arbitrage, really. So I think like if you're this kind of type of long-term thinker, this is the perfect time. It probably doesn't happen again because that gap gets closed and you don't get that opportunity a second time. So like that is, in my opinion, the best thing you can do.
Nice. Wow. Yeah. And for folks who are looking to like try to understand more and get involved, like I guess just following the space, it's following folks like you, Scott, following Udi on Twitter and whatnot. There are other ways, I imagine, getting involved in communities. All of these ordinals collections have really great communities behind them. So you can always meet the builders, meet the other community members, and get involved. I was going to ask you guys, like, if you're going to try to follow this space, what are some of the things that you guys really feel like is the best play to get the newest info on what's happening? You can always follow us, OKX, but what are some other ways you guys feel like the best way to follow the developments in the Bitcoin space?
I mean, in general, you got to find the reputable sources, like you said, join the communities, start to understand the platforms that allow market analysis for this, which are going to just improve with time. Like you kind of alluded to, obviously, like the OKX Web3 side, huge marketplace there for all of this. But Udi probably has more like specifics, like I think there's going to be a lot of noise. So like finding the signal there is going to be challenging.
Yeah, exactly. Right. It's always noisy in this space, but there's definitely a lot of value in understanding what's coming next. So,
we've started this kind of Taproot Wizards and Quantum Cats community, right? And obviously you can go to Magic Eden and or OKX or a bunch of other like marketplaces, and you can scroll through and see and buy those. But even if you don't buy those, you can join the community. I think it's really good if you go to like the Taproot Wizards Discord. It's on my bio on Twitter and on the Twitter accounts. You go to that Discord server. There are some of the most helpful and active people in ordinals are there every day. They are a great community to be in, even if you don't own the ordinals. And of course, there's a bunch of other really cool ordinals communities, but I'm obviously biased towards ours. They've been through the ordinals cycle since literally February 2023, so they know their shit.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah. I enjoy the Wizards Discord, and Cat. You guys it's always fun to be around. So yeah, I think we're coming to the end of our first Odyssey here, guys. We're keeping it quick, short, fun, covering some of the major topics from Bitcoin down to runes and ordinals. I want to just chat and see like any other thoughts you guys have on where we see ourselves in say 6 months, right? We have election going on, we have potentially OpCat. You know, where do we see ourselves in 6 months when we think about this space on Bitcoin?
Higher, better, more, bigger,
faster, stronger.
Listen,
more
like
presidents,
I said,
more kings talking about Bitcoin,
more
prime
hats, bro.
ministers.
Scott, we'll definitely get you a hat. Don't worry. We got to get.
I don't have a hat. If I don't have a hat in 6 months, I will literally.
Bro, down bad if you don't have a hat in 6 months, bro. Down bad.
I feel like Udi could have sent me a hat some other time. I don't know. It's weird.
No, no. Maybe
I'm really shocked you didn't find it. It's probably the invisible one.
Yeah, I'm actually wearing it right now.
Yeah,
whatever, man. I got the most magical wizard hat of all, so forget you guys.
Yeah, wizard hat on.
No, I really do though. Think I anticipate. Listen, history doesn't have to repeat, but I do anticipate that things are going to be very exciting in the fall and coming into 2025, both on the building side and, of course, just the retail FOMO price insanity that we've seen in previous cycles. I mean, we're exactly where we should be. The only difference is that the ETF sent Bitcoin flying early, right? But so I like to frame it this way: like if we hadn't have had ETF approvals, we'd probably be chopping between 35 and 45 right now instead of 55 and 75, and people would be psyched that we weren't at 17, right? And so I think it's just a matter of framing and perspective that we're as high as we are now, which I think just raises the potential ceiling dramatically.
No, I hear you. That's great. Any final thoughts, Udi? Where you got builders building, we got cats catting.
Yeah, look, people just gonna have to have like this tiny bit of patience. It's always funny to me to see how people freak out over like daily and weekly price movements. Like, especially for me, I've been in this, for 10 years. So like, guys, like chill out. I totally agree with Scott. Like the fact that we're where we're at this price right now is to me, it's like unthinkable. The fact that we have a Bitcoin ETF, we're gonna have an Ethereum ETF, like that was in 10 years ago, that was unimaginable. So things look, I think much brighter than anyone ever expected. Right? So let things play out. Don't stress over like daily price movements, and the future seems bright.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you as well. On the OKX side, we're building towards that future. The OKX wallet and our Web3 platform, we support Bitcoin, ordinals, runes. We'll see what comes next, and we'll look to support.
You guys had like 90% of the market share of this. Certainly at the end of last year. I haven't looked at the recent stats, but it was.
Yeah, no, it's good to be early, right? And I think that's part of the sort of the theme of this space is going on this odyssey, being curious, going in and actually trying to understand and find those builders, understand those trends early. We'll be doing this more often on On-Chain Odyssey, checking into different ecosystems, trying to understand the crypto space and its biggest trends. We'll look to wrap up here for this first session. I got to tell you guys, we were nervous on our side because we were like, how do we do all this stuff? This was really fun. This was really good.
This was great.
This is great, right?
Yeah.
Udi, thanks for coming by, man. Always good to see you. Looks like I'll be bumping into both of you guys in Nashville.
You can sleep. You can sleep on my floor.
I might need to sleep on. I might need to trash in your couch, bro. I'll trade you a hat for a couch. We'll see. But no, it's great to have you on, Udi and Scott. Very much looking forward to for more Odysseys coming up. So
thank you, guys. I think that's a wrap.